G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists in Australia do what they do. Well guys, we're back once again with Colour in Your Life and we're down near Torquay, down near Bell's Beach where they do the surfing, and we're with a lady called Jenny Laidlaw. Jenny.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the show. Interesting background. You're going to see some really fascinating, imaginative, you don't want to sort of say fantasy, is it? But it's just really imaginative type of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really amazing. Jenny has a really great history of her family being artists, your grandmother, your dad. So you get probably a lot of influence from all of those people in your life, don't you?
Yes, very much so.
And it's incredible work. You're an illustrator, artist in a sense, and plus a creator, craftsperson. We're going to show you some stuff as we go through the show today, which is really fascinating. These are some ideas that Jen's come up with. But there's a lot of people that give you their books from when they were children. It might have been a maths book or a personal book or a memento that they had. And they ask you, which I think is just absolutely fantastic, they ask you to turn these into living sculptures with the story behind them that obviously reflects on their journey as well.
Yes, so it becomes a very personal commission for me then.
One of the best form of sculpture I've seen in a long time. There's a lot of children's illustration. You do a lot of licensing with your work as well.
Yes.
But these really are stories within stories. You love, obviously, animals and wildlife. A lot of this comes from your background going to Canberra Fine Arts Institute.
Yes.
Where you got a Bachelor of Visual Arts.
Mm-hmm.
But she's culminated all of that to bring her to a place where these are really some quite dynamic, whimsical, fabulous journeys of the mind and imagination. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to put it. And then using animals and just a whole bunch of other things to juxtapose a pretty amazing story. But let's go and have a look how Jen does her watercolours, which is what they mostly are. Watercolours and pencil, isn't it?
Well, pen and ink.
Pen and ink, okay.
And then watercolour, yeah.
So it's a combination of all of that. And we're going to go through and have a look at how she puts one of these pieces together today. But it's going to be fun, really, really fun stuff. And I'm going to fire out some questions at you as we go through the day and come along for the ride. But let's go and have a look at what you do.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, part of the fascination with Jen Laidlaw is the fact that you take the characters, and you've got boxes of these guys around, and they really are just quite cute and amazing. But it's funnily enough, it's an essential part. I mean, part of your history as well was life drawing too, wasn't it?
Yes, that was my major in fine art school.
Okay, and obviously, and I do this myself by either making models or obviously getting models in, going to the zoo, which you do quite regularly down at the Werribee Zoo.
Yes.
But to take the models themselves, and then to be able to manoeuvre them and turn them around. I mean, literally, you can see it's very hard to imagine sometimes the way a horse would look if it was flying over the top of you. So obviously, you take these little characters, and you begin to put a drawing together. Now, Jen's actually already started on the drawing, and she's put this piece together here. As you can see, we've got wombats, and we've got seals, and we've got giraffes, and that's how you start that. But I mean, how do you come up with the ideas in the first place to do something like this?
I choose one animal out of my box,
and
I'll start with that one animal, and the picture just grows from there. I think holding one of these for me is like holding, it's a 3D piece of artwork that I can then, as Graham said, move around, and I feel as if it's a real character that I can then portray onto the page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
But and watercolours, you're using. You said it was a Holbein Japanese type of watercolour?
Yes, a whole bean, and Winsor and Newton also.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the paper's 300 arches.
Yes.
Now, I was noticing that particularly if you look at a lot of the sizes of Jen's work, that you can see that it's an A3 size, isn't it? And obviously if you get really big, and she doesn't have them strapped down at all because of the fact that she needs to be able to manoeuvre them around. There are watercolour easels that you can get for that type of thing, but I think that this is great. I used to do this when I was a kid myself in the same size desk. Yeah. But so we've got it drawn out. Where do we go from here and how do we start? I mean, what percentage do you mix? How do you get started with it?
Okay, from here, after I've done the pencil outline, if I'm happy with it, I then give my good old ink a shake.
Yeah.
And this is a Senilia walnut stain ink.
Okay.
And then this is my favourite ink nib pen.
Yeah.
And so give it a shake.
So you actually do the inking before you do the watercolour? The watercolour.
Yeah.
So the ink doesn't absorb into that at all?
No.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Unless if I try and do the watercolour too soon, after placing the ink down it will run, but otherwise I've never had any problems with it.
It's fantastic. And I was looking in your lounge room just before, your dad's like really talented guy as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, some of that stuff out there, it's like she's got some amazing stuff in the house. And I went, now I know where you get it from.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
But he's very much a realist painter.
Yeah.
So he paints straight from photographs, whereas most of my work is straight from imagination. Even though I'm using nearly a lifelike sort of 3D animal here, I change the format and change the shape, and
It's fantastic. I mean, they're so whimsical, they really are. So where do we go from here?
Basically, I dip the end of the nib in here. Now the beauty of this pen is that I can change the variety of the line if I want to make it...
Oh, so you'll actually have it going sideways, but if you want a thicker one, you'll pull it back?
Or just press harder.
Oh, okay. So why that not, say, the preference for a pen of some type that is water resistant? You just want...
Because I just love the line that I get from this. See how it's not the same all the way through?
Yeah.
I love that variance with it.
And when you put these together, you've used a word and you call it a collective. It's a collective of the imagination of all of these things.
With some of my work, I'll actually put wording along the bottom and have found objects also incorporated into it. So the viewer has to look at the picture, read the words, and appreciate the found objects.
Okay.
And then it's like putting all the pieces together like a jigsaw puzzle. I just found that that's a really special way for people, rather than just looking at a picture and interpreting it for what they're seeing, they can then also read the words and read more into what I wanted to portray through that piece of artwork.
It's fascinating. And you did use the word jigsaw puzzle, and you actually do have jigsaw puzzles out because of the nature of your work and the licensing that you do too.
Yeah, so I've got 6 of my children's images that have been used for jigsaw puzzles, both wooden and cardboard.
Okay, that's fantastic, isn't it?
Which is very exciting.
Yeah, it really is. So doing all of these fine lines, and your work's so incredibly fine, I mean, you must sort of drift away after a while doing this.
I do, especially once the pencil line is down in the composition. I'm happy with the composition. Then I'll do the pen and ink, and doing the pen and ink turns into a therapeutic escapism because I'm not having to concentrate and think, does that elephant work well with that giraffe? So it's escapism, and it takes me somewhere else. Sometimes I'm planning the next picture.
But it's sort of like all sound and lights are sort of shuts down and you're just focused in the one area.
Yes, yeah. And then I start getting impatient because I want to start using the colour.
Yeah.
Start painting,
Going back and forth. Yeah. So what we do now is we've got our drawing lined out with our ink, and from here you're going to set out your palettes.
Yes.
And then obviously we're going to start doing some washes.
Yes, first of all I have to erase the pencil lines first.
Okay, we've got to erase the pencil first, okay?
I rub out the pencil marks so that I don't have any pencil showing underneath the lighter colour paints.
Got a very crisp outline there. I think there's a difference in the way that you paint with watercolours in comparison to, say, a plein air watercolour artist, because a lot of your colours are very, very separate.
Yes.
All the way through, and I think that'll be demonstrated once you see Jenny's palettes, not palette, as well. Okay, from here we're going to put our palettes out. From what I can see, that really helps you to keep the colours very, very separate, because all of yours are so luminescent.
Yes.
So you want to keep those separate all the way through.
Otherwise, I just find it makes a big mess.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm going to start with the giraffe.
Okay. You don't put water down beforehand. You just go straight on with the brush.
Yep, straight on with the brush.
So you're really using the tip of that brush to manoeuvre the wash around.
Yep.
Without using the water to do it. This is very illustrative watercolour techniques. So I know that all artists have great influences in them, and I think that Robert Ingpen is one of your big influences as well.
Yes, he is. I've been to a few of his exhibitions and very inspired by his illustrations, and I've got about probably 20 of his books.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That I share with my children. And, and also another artist called Leon Pericles.
Okay.
Yeah, from Western Australia, I believe. Yeah.
And they're Australian artists, which is pretty cool. I mean, I know on the illustration guys, there's some major artists in England and America, but that's pretty cool that you've chosen Australian ones.
Yeah.
And obviously, with all of the animals that you paint, you're just down the road from Werribee Zoo.
Yes, and Melbourne Zoo is only an hour away as well, so.
So you obviously frequent the zoo with the kids?
Yes, very much.
Sort of camera in hand, away we go?
Yep. Lots of reference material.
That's the way. And from actually reading your bio, which does happen to me, I think it probably happens to a lot of other artists, is that in those lucid moments at night, before you're about to fall asleep,
yes,
you often can create great thought and great imagination. I mean, I think it's always good to have either a tape recorder or a pen and pencil beside you.
Yes.
Does that happen to you?
I actually wake up during the night.
Okay.
So I'll be asleep for a few hours and then wake up and suddenly have this vision. So I'll actually have a vision of the finished piece of artwork. And luckily I'm able to hold that and then wake up in the morning and be able to reproduce that on a piece of paper. So
that's a very special thing to do too.
Most of my images that's how I get there. Yeah.
So you formulate, because I do the same myself. You get bits and pieces, you sort of take the files out of your head.
Yes.
And you start sort of moving them across like a giant collage sometimes.
Yes, that's right.
Putting them into place.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I love drawing and painting rocks, rocks and trees. You'll find those in most of my artworks.
And obviously looking at your work, Jen, there's a real philosophy about nature and the world we live in it as well. Apart from the colour and the joy,
yes,
I think that there's this message of harmony with nature and the way you produce your work.
Yeah, so for example, this piece is titled The Meeting Place.
Okay.
So if you look more closely at it, there's actually a new regrowth of one of the trees growing up here. So all the animals have come in to meet at the regrowth.
That's fascinating.
And then on a lot of my finer detailed pen and ink work, I'll have cities sitting on islands that have not got any room left for buildings to be built on. So there's structures coming out from the edge of the island and the impact of humans on small places.
Yeah, but I mean, there's the philosophy behind us doing what we're doing as a species and sort of thinking we've got the right over everything else, which we don't. But these creatures are nations amongst us as well. Just because we're more advanced doesn't mean we shouldn't be respecting them
That's very
for singly
true.
who they are.
Now, also I like to juxtapose and balance my colours on the page. So, for instance, I might start on the giraffe, but I won't necessarily work left to right. So I might now, for example, do the panda, or then I might jump back and do the seal, because I want the composition to work colour-wise. So, for example, if down this area down here, if I do too many browns, the bright colours are going to be up in this area and there won't be enough down here.
Okay.
So that's why I actually put a snake down in here, because at the end I found that there was too much brown in this corner.
Okay.
So I've put a bright coloured snake down in here just to balance it. So now I'll start working on some of the brightly coloured trees.
So what type of trees would you call those?
I call them truffler trees.
Truffler trees.
Yes.
Is that your name?
It is. Well, it's slightly influenced by the Lorax and Dr. Seuss.
Truffler trees. Right.
But I actually invented them, and it wasn't until later that someone said, "Oh, they look like the truffler trees from the Lorax." So
fascinating.
But then once again, that environmental theme that Dr. Seuss had with the Lorax has come through in my work, but subconsciously I didn't intend the truffler trees to be truffler trees from the Lorax.
But it's a great name, it really is.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I think watching you paint, you've got these really dynamic colours that you can directly squeeze out without having to sort of mix a palette.
Mix them, yeah.
You know, paints that are produced, you know, from these major suppliers. All of them are, you know, quite good in their own right. But you're able to go directly to the source of the colour.
Yes.
And then drag the wash across, where, you know, trying to run around and chase your colours would be an absolute nightmare.
So for example, I love using a really bright lime green on some of the trees, and a few weeks ago I was having to actually mix a cadmium yellow and a green, a hooker's green, and then all of a sudden I found this new paint, the whole bean Japanese made paint that actually has the exact colour that I'm looking for. So that was exciting for me. I can't do any more on this particular tree now because the paint's still wet. So if I start now to use a vibrant cadmium red,
it'll bleed.
The colours will bleed into.
Yeah. This is part of the reason as well, is that you start to move around the picture as much as you do because you don't want bleeding in certain areas.
Yeah.
So, all right, well that one's done. We move on to another area.
This is one of my favourite colours. It's a marine blue.
Yeah.
It's just stunning.
And it's just once again that the subtlety of putting the colour down, wiping the extra pigment out, and then pulling it across with water.
Yes.
So that you just get that slight difference in the light of the wash. Where do the stories go from here as well? With all this going on, you've obviously got some projects that you're planning for the future with your ideas.
Yeah, it's funny when I'm doing a picture like this, I'll start planning the next one, and it'll actually have the same animals in it, but in a different scene, different composition. So one of these days I can see them all joining in a book being.
Yeah, I mean obviously these are inherently sort of moving towards an illustrative children's market.
Well, it's a story to tell, and I think that you can see one image, but then there's so much more to know about it.
Yeah. And I also hear that you're artist in residence at the Early Learning Centre at St Leonard's College. You've got about 80 students there, is that right?
Yes.
So you're obviously enjoying that?
I'm loving it. There's 43 3-year-olds and 44-year-olds.
Goodness.
And we're putting together a collaborative art piece.
That's fantastic.
Working with them, and it's so much fun.
So you've heard that, guys. She will teach you how to do this.
I love sharing.
Give her a call.
I love sharing what I do.
That's fantastic.
It's very important to me. I'm just going to work on the panda now.
Once again, you've just got every single colour that you need at hand.
Right in front of me.
Yeah, just go up, grab it, bring it down.
Yeah. And fortunately, because I don't mix a lot of water into the palette colours, I don't get a lot of splashing.
Okay.
So I can transfer quite easily without getting dobs of paint.
Sure. And there's no mist bottles at all. It's just simply paint and water.
Yes.
You're a patient woman, let me tell you.
A lot of people say that about my work. You must have so much patience. But it's escapism for me. It's my relaxation time.
Sure.
Some nights I'll find myself still working at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing I've got to get up at 7.
But it's amazing,
for the
isn't
kids.
Because it's so relaxing to do it.
Yeah.
You just want to keep doing it.
I just want to keep doing it.
I want to keep doing this.
I just want to finish that tree. I just want to finish that bird. Now I'm going to move down to doing one of my favourite animals, the wombat.
So once again, you'll grab your colour, and then you'll just start to drag the water across and lighten it and light it.
Yeah.
That's the way. So when you obviously originally start these, how do you draft? You just put a central character down and you just start drawing from the inside out or something, do you?
I generally start with the biggest animal that I think I'm going to use. So in this case it was, I actually started with the giraffe, and then I added the zebra. The zebra is a very dominant character, I suppose, to have in an illustration because it is so bold with the colours, so you have to be careful. I find that I have to be careful where I place it in my picture. That's why I've put it behind the giraffe so that it's not so dominant.
So you don't find that particularly working with stripes, affects your eyes at all?
No.
They're fine?
Fortunately, I have my eyes tested, and fortunately, my eyes are excellent.
Excellent.
Excellent. No sign of glasses yet. So the biggest creative part of it really is the drawing to make the composition, and then the creative part I find is the colour, using the colour.
I think part of the beauty of your life with your very adventurous family, and your husband actually being a sound man
Yes,
as well. He's obviously travelled all over the world.
all over the world.
Is that you have this really fantastic family that continues to do the same thing, and you just went away on a trip in July, I think it was.
Yeah, into Central Australia and
Central
Northern
Australia,
Territory.
and then started painting some of the Aboriginal themes that you saw out there.
Yes. As everybody says, the colours from Central Australia had a huge impact on me. And I came home and did some new images with an indigenous theme, and really found a connection with the outback.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but it had a huge impact on me.
All right, Jen, well, I can see that you've still got a great deal of work to do, but what we're going to do is we'll duck away and we're going to let you work on the piece for a while and let you really map in a lot of what you want to do.
Yep, sure.
And we'll come back in a while and see what you're up to. Okay, guys, fabulous day. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure being down here. And as you can see, the hands of a wonderful imagination, illustration and painting beyond comparison. I mean, your stories are just, they are extraordinary. They
Thanks,
really are.
Graham.
I think it's fantastic. But I'd just like to show the viewers these other sculptures that you do, which I think are just fabulous. And these are old books. I mean, old fairy tale. This is an Enid Blyton book, and she actually uses its Sculpey,
Yeah.
and then uses pencils, and then obviously gets the gigles. This is your original work to begin with, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then you've obviously put this onto a gigle. But these are just fantastic pieces. I think this is amazing, and you could really take some memorabilia
Yes.
that somebody's actually had and put all this together, and there's a real personal story in the whole thing.
Very
isn't
personal.
It's fantastic, it really is. Now, if anybody wants to see all of your stuff, where do they go to?
JennyLaidlaw.com.au.
So you can go in there. Fabulous work. I very much want to get Jen's work into our shop and gallery as well, because I think it's just fantastic.
Thank you.
It really is. Colourandyourlife.com.au. You can come into our website, see what's going on. Lots of people in these days. We've got some amazing things happening here and overseas. Our Facebook page at Colour and Your Life. Once again, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
It was really great day, and the colours in Jen's work is just amazing. But till we meet again, guys, as I always say, remember, make sure you put some colour in your life. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye.